Hey, everybody. I'm Bruce.
Inglorious Pastords.
And we're glad you're with us today because we have got quite a show for you.
When did it turn into a show? It was a podcast. You know, your talk about merch last week, I think you're turning this into a show.
It's a show.
No, the Inglorious Pastords is a conversation like you and I have. Once we turn it into a show, then it's, now we're going to have mugs and t-shirts and, you can be, special members if you pay extra fees, and you can get secret information that nobody else gets. And
wow, you took that a lot further than I really intended. The show was really just more of a word other than welcome to our cast.
I'm telling you, once you take that little baby step,
we're
just a show,
we're
right?
Not just a podcast, though. Okay, I don't know, like for our video viewers right now, it's a video cast on YouTube, and it's also a podcast. So I just thought show was an easier.
No,
even on podcasts, listen to the podcasters. They say you can check the show notes. They don't say check the podcast notes. They say check the show notes. It's a show.
Now we're defending it to absurdity. We're not a show.
Wow. Roger's in a bit of a state today. Why don't we find out what's wrong with him? Hey, Roger, what's wrong with you today?
I'm enjoying myself. You and I get together like this, and it makes my day.
Yes, we do. What's on your t-shirt today?
No more dirty.
No more dirty.
Our friend Minister Fred's ministry. Check it out. No More Dirty Inc. He just does so much good in the community.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Well, and around he's just a
great
guy
all over the place.
So yeah, No
cool.
More Dirty. Love
Minister
the guy,
Fred
the
Whitlow,
ministry.
right here from Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes, Minister Fred.
So you said something that I thought was really cool. You said enjoy. You're enjoying something. You're enjoying podcast time with me.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was in just an early morning prayer meeting with a small group of people, like 6 a.m. Literally just come together for prayer, which is refreshing. We don't come together for prayer requests. We don't come together for praise reports. It's just you come together. You come in the house.
And was this in person?
In person, live.
Oh yeah.
And
I missed that.
Yeah. And it was just prayer. So right at 6 a.m. start praying.
Wait. So someone just invited you to this, or did you launch this?
No, someone invited me, and they'd been doing it a lot before the
Okay.
pandemic, and then a little bit during the pandemic. Obviously,
Okay.
We're still in the pandemic, so they're just like going with it.
So early morning, you go to this prayer gathering for the first time.
No, been there several times.
Okay,
but in recent days, it's the first time because during the summer everyone was busy, crazy. Of course, I was traveling all the time, so it was fun. Yes. It was fun to be able to just go to a prayer meeting, and I enjoy a prayer meeting where it really is just prayer. It's not catch up. It's not. It's just simply
do too.
6 a.m. Boom, we start praying.
Because you've been in those ones where you're in this prayer gathering. Where every now and then you literally never pray,
or you pray in the last 5 minutes, pretty quick.
It's like, okay, finish this up, Walt, and
I finished it up
with a word of prayer.
Right, I finished it up with this prayer. This is the classic prayer. Lord, you've heard everything we've talked about, because I wanted to be included in the prayer, and as we've talked about, prayer is conversation,
right? Yeah.
So including God in that conversation is prayer,
and
So I had one of the best days ever yesterday because I had this little epiphany. So one person was reading out of, because you can do it, you can read as part of your prayer, whatever, but they were reading out of this daily devotional by Kay Warren about choose joy. So it's like a year-long devotional. Anyway, it was talking about.
She wrote a book, I think. I think she wrote a book, Choose Joy.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe that's what this is, because it's a little book, but it's a little book of devotionals.
Okay.
Anyway, the idea of was we tend to find our joy in people and personalities and possessions, and there were several other P's. It was really good. You could see Rick Warren be very proud. She used 5 P's in there. At places was another one of them. And I was listening, and she was talking about we need to find our joy in God, not on all of these other things. But my mind went a whole different way with this, but that is how I enjoy God. I enjoy God through people and places and personalities and possessions, and even, like, for me, productivity. this reality that we're called to bear fruit. In other words, I know we've talked about the idol of productivity in our culture, and we can get super busy, but there's also a certain joy in being productive, in bearing fruit. So all that, the epiphany yesterday was, I was thinking about, and I was talking to a client, and we were just talking about how hard life is. And she was saying, she's learning, the words of Jesus where he says, don't worry about tomorrow. Each day has its own trouble, or enough trouble of its own. And she's like, boy, isn't that right? And I'm like, absolutely. And then I had this thing. I think Jesus isn't telling us to dread tomorrow or even to bemoan the trouble that we have this day. I think he's saying enjoy today.
Right.
That I've been a pastor for 27 years, and I'm like, I just enjoy today.
Yeah.
Because there will be problems tomorrow. There will be trouble tomorrow, but enjoy, and there'll be trouble today.
Right.
Because today was yesterday's tomorrow. But enjoy. And so all throughout the day, I found myself enjoying people and places and possessions and personalities and all those things that, in one sense, and I understand where she's coming from, we don't put all of our joy in just those things, but I realize those are the things where I find joy in God. A good meal with friends,
right?
Sitting, or even a bad meal with friends, right? Because we're together and we're laughing about how bad the meal is. Playing golf Monday, played terrible again. Yeah, but beautiful. It's a place, and there's people. Yeah. Beautiful golf course. People that I haven't connected with in several years from Chattanooga, and I was like, I've had multiple days now of joy, because my temptation is to look forward to the next big thing, then I'll experience joy. Yeah. So in the same way that there's trouble each day, there's also joy each day. Anyway, it was just, I enjoyed yesterday thoroughly. Yeah. And it had its share of trouble and problems and difficulties and whatnot, but I realized that is the way I think God wants me to live this life. Enjoy today, even though there's going to be problems, there's going to be trouble, but there's also, with every day's trouble, there's also every day's joy. And so I was finding it in little things, and it was just a good day for me. Just that idea, but then living it out, and then went to bed last night and just spent time in prayer, not praying for anything, just a prayer of gratitude. Yeah. Just thanking God for different things.
Well, I think that's the thing of, if I'm contrasting, I don't even think that you and Kay are saying something really different as I'm listening. What you're talking about
Did you say you and Kay like we're like buddies? Kay and I were talking about joy.
Well, you and Kay are probably going to be doing a conference together this next year. You don't know it yet.
It's a women's conference. How to help women find their purpose with Kay Warren and Bruce W. Martin. It's perfect. Love that.
Their ideas on finding joy in... No, but it's the joy. You are enjoying God through those things. In other words, God is the joy on the side. You understand he's the joy behind it, because when you understand those things as a gift, they're not random. They're not, when the Bible says God's given us all things richly to enjoy, it's understanding that the God of joy is behind all those gifts. So I can enjoy him in the gift in that moment. Where we can get off is when we're finding the joy in just the thing, and it's not the joy of God behind it. The understanding and seeing, in fact, actually where we may be finding more joy in the thing, or we've lost sight of God as the gift giver in that.
Because it's not that a person, let's say, it's not that an atheist can't be happy.
Oh, no.
But I don't know that he can experience joy. This thing of, what did one theologian say? That the purpose of man is to enjoy God forever, to glorify God and enjoy him forever.
Right. It's part of the creed. Yes.
Okay, so
the Winchester. I started to say the Winchester Confession,
the Manfred Mann's Earthbound Confession. No, it's the first part of that always sort of made sense. Our purpose is to glorify God. Okay, right. I sort of put this, and to enjoy him forever. I always I struggle with that a little bit, because I'm like, we're really supposed to enjoy God. We're here for his pleasure. And I'm like, no, we are supposed to enjoy God. And in all of those things, a place or a person, or even a possession. See, that's that thing that I think about. I like cars. I enjoy cars more than most people enjoy cars. I enjoy cleaning cars. I completely detailed Marlena's car over the weekend.
Did you?
Well, I had a 4-day weekend, which for me is very rare.
That is rare.
So I detailed Marlena's car, and I had joy in that. That was about the dirtiest car I have ever seen in my entire life. I had several things growing in the back that I had to use Roundup on before I could remove them. Because I don't want them to regrow. We want to get right to the root of the thing. Right. But I enjoy
never weed killer in the auto detailing process. It's the first time I've made that connection. That's very creative.
But I enjoy driving cars, like driving to this golf course yesterday. There's a lot of curvy roads up on the mountain, and I was like, this is just fun.
Tell our listeners what car you're driving now.
Okay, so I'm driving an Audi A4 S-Line series, which is just great fun. And before people judge, before you judge,
I got a great price on it.
I bought that car for less than most of you spent on a Honda Accord. No, seriously. So,
yeah, do you feel better about yourself now?
I do. I feel like I both rationalized and unjudged myself. But that car handles like a dream. Oh, Car and Driver has tested 1 billion cars over the years. Okay, just a bunch of them. This was the second quietest car they've ever tested in a road test. The first one being a Rolls Royce.
Oh, gosh,
that car is. Oh, you've ridden it. That car is so quiet. You can't.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have.
You haven't ridden in my
car?
No,
because I would.
Didn't we go to play golf in that? Yes, we went to play golf in that, didn't we? In Florida, at some point. Roger not being a car person. No. You'd have to see his van to understand how much of a not car person Roger is. Roger washes his vehicles once every 10 years, whether they need it or not. Okay. He uses sandpaper, people. Sandpaper.
Very effective.
Yeah.
Very effective. Just gets that stuff right off. And you want to keep it clean.
Get it right down to the primer.
Maybe it was so quiet I didn't even know I was riding in it.
You probably didn't. All that to say, that possession is God's. Everything that I have is the Lord's. It was interesting. I so enjoyed listening to your face cast yesterday, where you were talking about the Sabbath and tithing. Because we've talked about the idea that the Sabbath is made for man, but I just love the way beautifully you brought out the tithe was made for man, not man for the tithe.
Right.
It's beautiful because I was thinking about this morning. You realize when they would tithe back to the temple, like tithing of their animals or offering a sacrifice, they ate it. Right. They're having a meal, right? It's a feast.
Right.
It was for them. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't just we sacrificed an animal and then threw everything out.
Right.
No, you're cooking it and eating it, right? It's this beautiful, it was a feast.
And enjoying.
We're
getting back to the same, because this was I would say just a foreign idea growing up. The idea, because I remember, again, same thing you're talking about, this statement, we're made to enjoy him forever. That just felt
foreign.
Wrong.
Yeah.
In other words, God and fun. It's funny.
It's almost like God allows us to have enjoyment, but that's really not his
right.
thing.
It's like joy. Enjoy sounded a little too much like fun.
Mm-hmm.
There was like in this nebulous idea, well, we find this kind of joy, and maybe it's kind of this contentment or whatever in him, but to enjoy God. I think, for me, and I'm not saying what anyone preached at me, but I'm just saying whatever I absorbed was actually the idea of enjoying God. Just find delight and enjoy and fun in God was a foreign, almost a kind of that sounds, because he's very serious.
He's very serious.
Well, I think that was more, we lean much more on the side of fearing God.
Yes.
And there's a place for that. But I think we lean much more on the side of fearing God than enjoying God. And so this idea, this is what's even fascinating to me, even if I look at, again, how counterintuitive, I just didn't pick this up for the longest, but for Jesus to say the greatest command in all is to love God. And I absolutely would have thought it would be fear God.
And think about this. Think about how that word's used. Because again, I think that word, when we hear Jesus say, your job is to love God. I mean, the greatest command is to love God. Oh, so it's a duty. It's something I must have got to but if I said, let's love ice cream. Yeah, it's my job. It's my job. Let's say I work at an ice cream store. My job is to love ice cream. Right. I love ice cream. Marie Griffith pointed out something that Dallas Willard said about that particular thing that was so good. He said, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And he argues it's not something that you have to do. It's something that you simply will do. You will love the Lord, your God. You'll love him with all your heart, soul, mind. In other words, God's drawing us into this love relationship. And we're like, I just love God. I love him with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. Not I have to love. So it's different than understanding Moses is saying, or you have to love the Lord your God with all that. You just will. Anyway, and of course, Dallas Willard is always good with.
Yes.
But it's like in the last several days, I've had these just many epiphanies about what does it look like to love God and enjoy him? We just will.
Well, and the will there, I wonder then again, if this isn't then the natural progression of growth. Because even if I think about like raising kids, I've raised 4, and you think there's but at some level, you do end up starting with some things like duty. This is something you're required to do.
Yeah, right.
And there's some element of fear. There's some, in other words, even if we're talking, so you have to share. That's duty. You have to share. You're required to do that. If you don't share, there's a consequence. And so there's kind of duty and fear. But the growth we're moving toward, we want them to love sharing. We want them to move toward
love sharing, love mercy, love forgiveness.
Yes. Right. But this is, I think, with God as well. It's not surprising that we start at some level as children with duty. You're required. I mean, this is a thing that you ought to do. And if you don't do it, there are consequences. And you'll see in the pages of the Bible, there are consequences. But the goal was never to make us do things out of duty or out of fear. Those were all things that were intended to move us toward loving God.
And loving others. In other words, now I enjoy sharing. In other words, when we were kids, we're like, I don't want to share my Captain Maddox doll with Rob. You got Geronimo. I mean, that's on Grandma and Grandpa. Actually, David had Captain Maddox. I had Jim West or some kind of cowboy guy.
Right. You had the heroes. I had what we considered to be
the bad guy. Right.
What was considered, to be the bad guy.
It turned out he was the good guy.
Right.
He had been there the whole time. And then Jim West shows up. And not good.
The Cowboys were the good guys. Anyway.
Even we played Cowboys and Indians. No one wanted to be the Indians.
Right.
Because we all know the Indians got killed. Right. So I can still remember on the front lawn of the house on Stone Circle where we would get shot and we would fake getting shot, falling, and then rolling down the hill. You remember that? Because all the movies we saw back in those days when you got shot, that you never saw blood or anything in those days.
You had the classic roll.
You had the roll. You had the flop and roll. That was just how it worked.
That's true.
So we would clutch our heart. We were always shot in the heart. We never got shot in the head. No one ever did that. That would be too gruesome. We always got shot in the heart, maybe the stomach, and then you fall to the ground and you roll. To the bottom of the ditch. It was actually fun getting shot in those days.
Can you shoot me again?
No, you're dead.
I haven't been shot the whole game yet.
Oh, good times. So, what kind of little quip, pun can we have for this one?
So we can make a T-shirt, like
we can make Inglorious Pastor
mugs with merch.
Last week it was
we're a show.
Don't ignore, restore. This week it's enjoy.
Don't destroy.
That's the only. It's not really where we're headed today. I mean, I suppose I could make a theological point for why we shouldn't
we could
destroy.
squeeze that in. You know, we were pastors long enough.
We could segue it.
We could make destroy work.
Okay, so Roger, you got 5 seconds to segue destruction and enjoyment. Go.
Well, here's the thing. If we're not enjoying God, it is going to destroy us. If we aren't loving him with all of our heart, who's getting hurt? It's us.
It's us. And
we're destroying ourselves.
And like Monday,
enjoy, don't destroy.
I destroyed the golf course. Literally. I went through like 11 golf balls. Okay. But I enjoyed playing. Here's another thing I thought of, that simple enjoyment. All right. So I ended up having this discussion with a client yesterday too. It's just fun. So I'm playing golf.
Mm-hmm.
I should never be upset playing. Remember when we were kids? We just wanted to go out and play. Hey, when can I go out? We have to do your chores. Then you can go out and play. It didn't matter what we're playing. We're playing. That was the joy of it. We're playing. It's recess. Didn't matter what we did at recess. It's recess. We're out playing. And I realized yesterday, well, of course, that's why I should always enjoy golf. I'm playing, for God's sake. Literally playing. And I realized how often I got angry because I was playing. I wasn't playing well. I realized, but I'm playing. Playing is fun. Am I right?
Right.
So maybe that's even part of my own growth as a human being. Because when I was young, I remember if I didn't play well, up to a year ago when I wasn't playing well, I couldn't enjoy playing golf.
Right.
And now I can't. I've grown as a person. I can play poorly and have fun.
I wonder if you're not getting at, though, a very important piece of even the importance of enjoying God. Because I think one of the things that inhibits that, when I think about sports, when I think about basketball or places where you and I have found ourselves getting angry or upset because of our performance in the game, in the play, it's about something else. Now I'm trying to prove something. I'm trying to win something. So rather than simply just enjoy, but I wonder with God, if this is also the thing we run into, we can't enjoy God because we've got to prove something. We're performing and we're aware that our performance is not great.
Roger, our desire is to create significance. I mean, even culturally.
Yes.
So if I play well, now I'm significant.
Right.
You know, like with the Schreiner brothers who Tom's like a +1. Like he has to add a stroke to his score at the end.
No, ridiculous handicap.
I mean, he played in the U.S. U.S. Senior Amateur last year.
That was so cool.
Qualified for that play.
So cool.
That's just nuts. But I realized for years when I was playing with Tom, I wanted to prove to Tom,
oh yes,
I'm a player.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Right.
I can play golf and I'm playing, but I'm not a player. I'm not even an amateur golfer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But certainly not a professional golfer. So it's allowed me to I don't find and I told this to Tom, because I was playing poorly and I was just having fun. And I said, Tom, it's interesting. I've totally changed I'm not trying to drive significance in my personhood by how well or poorly I play golf. When I play well, I enjoy that for what it is.
Right.
But when I don't play
an aberration.
But when I don't play well, I'm able to enjoy moments.
Right.
Like I told you yesterday, I didn't play well. I only parred 2 holes yesterday.
Okay.
2 holes out of 18. One, I found out later after I played it, it was the number 1 handicap hole on the course.
Okay.
The toughest hole in the golf course.
Okay.
Parred it. Okay. And then the last hole, which is like Golf Digest, like the most picturesque finishing hole in golf, like 10 years running. Beautiful, beautiful hole. Hit this great drive, great second shot in the bunker, though. Hit it to 8 feet. Almost made a putt for par. Missed it. And I was like, what a great day.
Yeah.
But I literally only played 3 holes well.
Right.
So 15 holes were the trouble that Jesus talked about you're going to have every day. But 3 times I had joy.
Now, have you ever had a round from Roger's world where you didn't have a single good hole?
Well,
how do you find your joy Where do you find your joy? You're sitting here hanging. Well, at least I had 3 holes I could find joy in.
I've had rounds like that, and then you find joy in the
You
fact
have
that you're
not.
breathing.
I didn't kill anybody today.
I didn't kill anybody today. I'm playing. I'm outside and I'm playing.
I've only lost 24 balls,
which is not so bad when you consider you can buy those in the rewashed section for like $16, which I did because I knew I was going to this club that's on the edge of a mountain. I mean, it's like anything you don't hit just right, it's going off the mountain.
I think another thing that is hard to get my heart around, but I think it's core to joy, is the even weirder idea that God enjoys me.
Yeah.
I think to realize and get these snatches in the words of Jesus, in the word, this God who thinks of us as often, the thoughts of towards us are like the stars, and who
you got to go deeper with this. For some listeners, this is very hard to engage. But it's so that God enjoys Roger.
No, that he has delight.
Yeah.
And we understand we should find delight in God, and we grieve how rare that happens, perhaps. Well, for me, I just, again, how the snatching moments where that's there. But one of the hardest things to trust, and the hardest things, because even here's where I think we can think about a God who loves us because he has to. He's God, and well, I've got the set a high bar here. But when we start talking about loving mercy, I think this is actually, God asks us to love mercy because that's all he has ever known. He's always loved mercy. He's never had to work.
He's never not loved mercy.
Right.
Yeah. It's like he's never not existed.
He delights in the ones he's made and the people that he's created. He delights in his creation. And that is actually can be one of the hardest things for us to believe, but it actually ends up being core. Because here's the thing. Now I don't have to earn. Now I don't have to win. Now I'm not trying to prove something to him. I can't prove anything. He knows fully who I am, loves me, delights in me. It can undercut that whole part of me that it feels like I've got to get him to like me.
And I think the reason that we struggle with the idea, the reality, the truth that God enjoys me is because we're so aware, sometimes even hyper aware of our brokenness, our struggle, where we fall short of the glory of God.
Oh, right.
So how could God enjoy me? We have to understand that God is simply not looking at us and focusing in on everything that we're doing wrong. In other words, one of the big turnarounds in my parenting was Zach, because I love him. I delight in him. He is a son that I delight in, but I would get hyper focused on the things that he was getting wrong. And I would find myself correcting that or speaking to that. And one time I felt like God said, "Hey, Bruce." When God talks to me, it's often, "Hey, Bruce," literally. "Hey, Bruce." He has to get my attention. "Hey, Bruce, here's an idea. How about we not pick out everything Zach's doing wrong, but from this point forward, start picking out everything that Zach's doing right and verbalize it. I'm enjoying my son." And guess what? My son's able to enjoy me then too. Mm-hmm. It's not that I'm not aware of his brokenness, that that he's got struggles and all that, but I love him. I delight in him. And even when I focus on those things about him that I love, that I appreciate, I was thinking, as you're talking about God enjoying us, I was thinking, someone sounds like sacrilegious, but I think God likes my humor. No, that on certain things that I'm funny. I mean, of course, he's the author of humor, so I've only got any sense of humor because of God. But I wonder if I ever get God tickled.
Well, I was thinking about a similar thing the other day where God loving music, God loving people.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think about now this idea. There have been songs. Well, this is where I was going. I wonder if God likes the song "Dust in the Wind." So, Okay, the dust in the wind, the message, Kansas. All we are is dust in the wind. And it's this kind of
appropriate song for a group named Kansas.
Yeah. But it's this idea that the world is nothing more than dust. We returned it. That's it. You know, this whole and as I thought, so I'm thinking,
well, it's a psalm too.
Right.
The psalmist argues, why is God mindful of us? We're only dust.
Ecclesiastes, that we're dust, we're kind of
from dust we were made.
So there's this song that's has a kind of haunting hopelessness to it. It has a kind of
cynicism.
Whatever. But even as, here's my sense, it's just, and I could be wrong, but there's a beauty in the music, and here's somebody sharing their heart, and I think I see God loving the songwriters, and so there's some beautiful music there. I see God aching for the hopelessness.
Right.
I see God, and for whatever part, and this is what I can't get into any person's heart, and so where they're intentionally moving from God, but you just see the heart of Jesus, who would look at people and say, they're like sheep without a shepherd. This isn't an abrasive, this isn't an ugly character.
It's not a criticism.
It's such a compassionate word. I just see these.
You're exactly right. They're like sheep without a shepherd.
They're like children who don't know. Jesus even saying they have forgiven. They have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
And even so, I think there's this place where God delights. He delights in our humor. He delights in our music. He delights in our creating. We build buildings. We make things for planes. We sew or knit or paint.
Did you just say knit?
We knit.
Yeah. Fairly sure no one knits anymore, Raj.
But we play games. We play golf. All of these things. I think God does find delight in us finding delight in these gifts from his hand.
Yes.
And so the idea of Jesus liking a song, I love that song, regardless of whether that person who wrote the song loves God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength or not.
Whether the song is theologically correct.
Whether the song is theologically correct.
By the way, I'm still stuck on knitting. It's like, where did that come from? Knitting.
Well, you're just bashing millions of people.
You know what I see in my head? I remember the time that, one of our kids, I only have one, got lice, and you're having to pull the knits out. We were knitting. Actually, we were de-knitting.
Hey, the knitting story you obviously missed during the Olympics. I think there was one of the swimmers,
knitting is part of the Olympics?
No, stay with me.
Okay.
But he was waiting, so in between, okay, whatever. But there's this guy up in the stands. He's one of the Olympians, and he's just knitting to kind of keep his mind or whatever. Look it up. It's just kind of but people still knit.
Wow, knitting.
And there's no need for you to throw shade at knitters.
No, I think people
We are not anti-knitters. At least Roger is not an anti-knitter. You're an anti-knitter.
I'm not. No.
You've made clear disparaging knitters everywhere.
It's like butter making. Okay? Who churns their own butter anymore? Very few people, unless you're Amish. So I'm just saying.
I'm not anti-churner either.
Right, exactly. Neither am I. All I said is there's less people churning now than there was 200 years ago. It was just the knitting thing sounded more like an ancient concept versus something new like gaming on an Xbox. Have you heard of gaming? People do that, Roger. There's a screen in front of them and they've got a little joystick. Joystick. Think about that. Joy. This is woo.
Some people would call their knitting needles joysticks. So you have got
little joysticks. Okay,
can you apologize?
I'm going to make an apology for both of us this morning because neither of us were trying to make any sort of anti-knitting sentiments.
only one of us. Only one of us.
But Roger, you mentioned
credit.
knitting as an aside. It wasn't the first thing out of your mouth, so some people could think that you were making it a secondary sport.
Well, it is true.
Pastime.
But I think you're the one who mentioned golf before knitting. So once again, you're the one here who has cast the knitters under the bus.
If you knit, I want you to know that I'm your friend, and I would love you to send me something that you've knitted, because I didn't know we were still doing that. I remember when I first got married, Marlena was a cross stitcher. Remember cross stitching?
It's still a thing. You're doing it again. Once again.
Are people still cross stitching out there?
I still sell these on eBay.
Okay.
Cross stitching and knitting, embroidery. These are things people do. It's not like, remember the old days.
I'm trying to think of something that people aren't doing. Have you made a wheel yet today? Are people still making wheels out of a big rock and just hammering on it to get a wheel out? I bet people aren't doing that now.
I hear you comparing the invention to the wheel to knitters, and I'm just not. You can't stop yourself. You're making these people prehistoric.
No, I'm trying to think of something that people. Let's do this. What are some
golfing and gaming? These are real things that normal people do.
Did you know back in the old days, the golf ball was knit together, woven, literally. So, is there anything that people aren't doing today that we could use as an analogy for things people don't do anymore?
Well, why do we have to make it things people don't do anymore?
I bet no one's making 8-tracks anymore. Hey, I just got a new 8-track.
You're wrong.
Are they still making them?
I still sell blank 8-tracks.
Oh no.
Which
means people are putting something on it.
Right. No, I still sell blank cassettes, blank reel to reel. In the last week on eBay, I've sold blank reel to reel media unopened.
When was the last time you sold a 5 1/4 floppy disk?
In the last year.
I got to work harder. I'm thinking back. We're still building railroads.
I have not sold a large stone wheel. So.
Can you imagine? That's great.
This was one of the first prototypes.
Ox cart. Oh. I can still see the ox cart with the little square non-wheels. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk. I mean, it's slightly easier.
But I think even now the laughter, aren't we at some level just actually living out?
Enjoying God.
Enjoy what God, this is what, so we can laugh. We've talked about it before, but even in a portrayal of Jesus that you see in The Chosen, where he can joke around and he kids, where you get the idea that God actually enjoys laughter and music and games. It's not like we came up with games and he's like, oh, that wasn't part of the plan. You're finding way too much joy in that. Now, yeah, everything can get sideways. The most beautiful things where we begin
anything you can enjoy
to love something God gave us to enjoy. We begin loving more than him, or it begins to actually move our hearts from him or other people. Because that's why I've seen even where I take a game too serious, or and then suddenly there's some loss for people, or I lose sight of people, whatever. Yeah. So all these good things that God has given us, they can get sideways. We can get sideways, but that's not a reason.
It doesn't diminish the fact that God's
right.
given
It's
them
not a case against
grace.
Joy. It's not a case against enjoying and finding. It's just seeing God in it all. I think this is one of the things that has shifted. You described it, but it's where I've come now. Here I am at 60 years of age, of just enjoying God more through the day and enjoying the smallest little things, this little, even now, just a fun, small little sell I'll make on eBay. Even this morning, yesterday I came across a guy was selling a bunch of old camera equipment.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of cool, fun stuff. I got a really good price on it. Probably going to do well.
And there's lots of people that love that old camera. They love to do it the old way. They've got a dark room at their house, and
you're
got
changing.
The
That's good. Yes, people still do that.
And it's a good thing to do. It's a very good thing to do.
I literally yesterday picked up, for instance, sealed Polaroid land camera film from 1971.
Wow.
Which people will buy.
Sure.
There's no guarantees because I'll put on there it's expired.
Well past its expiration.
Well, yeah, 71. You think okay, this is 50-year-old film, but people will buy it. I've sold that. So I got a bunch of film or these other kind of things.
That's fun.
That's fun. But I enjoyed it with God. I could, and that's the thing of just receiving. I'm just seeing God behind all the laughter, behind all the pleasure, behind it.
So this is such an important point to make. And on this one, I'm going to chide you just a little bit.
Okay.
Because sometimes you kid a lot about I'm just selling trinkets on eBay while Bruce isn't doing important things. But you just said something that's powerful. You're enjoying God in your work.
Yes.
Which is one thing when Marlena and I talked about this yesterday, because Marlena enjoys her work.
Yeah.
She enjoys it. She enjoys what she does. And I'm like, Solomon says that's like one of the best things you can do.
He does say that. Yeah.
To enjoy your work.
Right.
To enjoy the labor of your hands. And so you finding joy in eBay, and even, we've talked about the joy of a deal, finding this is going to be a great deal. But then I think about for you, the end user that's just I got this thing that I've been looking for 3 years.
Right.
That I was unsure if I was ever going to find. And here I've got this, and it's so much fun. It's a possession that can bring fun.
Right.
So I'm just like, that's why I was saying, even when I thought about possessions, I'm like, we're certainly not to cling to them. Jesus says, unless you give up everything, you can't even be my disciple. But there is certain joy in a possession.
Right.
You build a table. Yeah, and I can imagine Jesus doing this, building, in even some furniture and just going, this is a really cool table.
Right.
Father, thank you for even giving me the idea for building this thing. I mean, don't you know, we just love. Can you imagine if you had something that Jesus made, physically made, that you could sell on eBay?
I wouldn't be selling it on eBay. It'd be Sotheby's auction house or something.
Today we're offering a gopher wood table.
Made by Jesus.
Made by Jesus. Literally.
What's the starting bid?
We're going to start at $100 million. Ding, I see that hand.
Right.
Do I hear 200 million? Ding. Yes.
And so the loss then for any one of us, believer, atheist, whatever, is enjoying something and missing God in it.
I wonder if Jesus ever engraved his name on the bottom of something he made.
I think he would have seen
Yeshua.
That's trouble.
That's going to be a problem down the road.
That's going to be a problem down the road.
Well, and that what you're alluding to, this thing, when I think about, I have atheist friends, and I think, just what a loss. I can't imagine doing life without God.
Right.
Personally, I just can't. But then I'm like, how fleeting must joy be? It is eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you die. And after that, there's nothing.
Right. There's nothing behind there's no person behind the gift or thing that I'm enjoying. And that's the thing. Even if for someone looking at a stunning sunset or the delight of sex or these kinds, and not realizing that behind this is a gift giver. Behind all of these good things. And that's where so it's not me it's me aching for anyone. I'm not talking about just simply atheists.
Sure,
anyone. Because I know moments in my life where I've been enjoying a thing and missing God entirely and missing the gift giver. Christians can do this. Muslims can do this. Atheists can do, any one of us can miss the joy and the love of the gift giver behind whatever pleasure or fun that we're having. It's just that all of those things become so much richer when you see they're not accidental. We're made for those things. We're made to enjoy God in those things.
There's no ploy, just enjoy. I've still got it.
I'm not sure you do.
You don't even think God enjoyed that humor?
Is that what it was? Humor?
Wow.
There's no ploy.
Well,
what the heck is the ploy? Explain ploy to me. There's
nothing,
no ploy.
Nothing I enjoy more than a good closet ploy.
Well, I just don't understand ploy in the context here. I understand destroy, but I'm not. There's no ploy.
There's no ploy. There's no hidden evil agenda. Just enjoy. That's the idea.
That was one of your worst pastoral stretches I have ever heard.
I'm trying to develop merchandise for the Inglorious Pastords, Raj. Okay?
Yeah.
So
you want to tank us.
Sometimes we're gonna
put a mug that says
there's no
it's
ploy.
No ploy. Just enjoy.
That would be a great coffee mug.
That's awful.
Marlena got a new coffee mug that says when life gives you lemons, drink coffee. Just like I love that. So don't forget.
Just fill your day with joy and don't forget the God of joy behind it all.
There's no ploy, just enjoy.
That's wrong. We're signing.
I thought that was pretty good, actually. There's no ploy. You said slither.